YouTube Valley community, Little Sisters fans, random people on the internet, my name is Giggens, and we're here today to talk about The Joys of Love by the Little Sisters. Now you may be asking yourself, who are the Little Sisters? Great question. There's not much to know. I was doing any sort of research that I could on these girls, and there's just not much out there. I found one article from 2012 that I printed off because it gives such a snapshot into who these girls were and where they were going and kind of the folk scene at the time in Greenwich Village, New York. And it's fascinating. So I discovered this album in a thrift store, I don't know, a couple of months ago maybe. And the cover caught me because it's so visually striking, like the blonde hair, the black shirts, the eyes, the photography skills. I was like, what is this? I've never heard of it before. So I picked it up and it was on MGM Records and Johnny Carson wrote the back, which was pretty cool. They'd been on The Tonight Show several times. So I was like, oh, they must be fairly well known if they're on The Tonight Show. Like, that must be kind of a big deal. So brought up my phone, started scrolling at the store, and I was like, okay, there's nothing. Went on Discogs, found it. Not super rare, not super expensive. It's not on Spotify. It's not streaming anywhere. I don't think it's ever been on CD. This thing kind of came and went. As far as I know, they never made another album ever again. This was the one. So I just want to read a little bit from this article. This was put out, I'm going to put this down for a second. This was put out by a guy named David Wilson, a conversation with Herb Grant for the Berkshire Fine Arts website. This was back in April 28th of 2012. And he was talking to Herb about his time between Philadelphia and New York City at that time when he was working in the business. And he had produced some other stuff for different blues records, but I just want to read a little bit of this story. So it says, Herb says, one night around 3 a.m., they were at one of these clubs called the Figaro in Greenwich Village. One night at 3 a.m., two little blondes walked into the Figaro and came directly to my table. Could we sit with you so no one will bother us? Of course I said yes. Then one of them, Mary, said, is it okay if we practice? Sure, I said. What happened next is some of the most heavenly harmony singing you've ever heard, as fine as the Everly Brothers, but very much their own way. The singing went on for more than a half hour when a tall, gangly, straw-haired boy with thick glasses and a 12-string guitar came straight in off the bus. He sat at a nearby table and listened. Soon, he came over and asked if he could play guitar with them. Sure, said Pat. He took out his 12-string and played along with them as if they had rehearsed for months. And then it goes on to talk about how these two sisters are, in fact, sisters. Their last name really is Little. It's Mary and Patty Little, 22 and 21 years old at the time. And they were kind of born on that stage. I guess the guy's name who played guitar was Richard Graham. So it was Richard Graham and the Little Sisters. But it's probably just the Little Sisters as the group name. But it goes on to say that they played at the Bitter End a bunch and got involved in the hootenannies they had there. Playing the same nights as the Clancy brothers from Ireland, which is pretty cool. And they would play, traditional folk songs like Honey, Let Me Be Your Salty Dog, but at like fast tempos. And they had a riotous kind of stage show where they would like pinch each other on the butt and make jokes and kind of goof around and just have the audience roaring, but also sing these amazing songs at the same time. So I'm going to put this down in the links below so you can read the entire thing. My favorite part of that article was just how random these girls were, and that like, if they had a bad day, they would ride the subway for 24 hours and only get off to buy candy and use the bathroom. They would skip dinners with these record people because they thought, oh, we have to pay for dinner. Basically, what they did was they traveled up and down the East Coast and the South, collecting songs, as you did back in those days, like a folk person would, and remembering these tunes that had been passed down for hundreds of years sometimes, and just adding them to their repertoire and making them their own. And they would just go out and meet friends, discover these songs, come back, and basically show everyone how talented they were. And that's how they got their way into the Johnny Carson show, was kind of being like, look, we believe in our music. We're going to get onto the show somehow. And they did 3 times. Insanely talented group of girls. Like, I picked up this record because it was just intriguing. And then going down this tiny rabbit hole of the most littlest information I can discover about this group, my interest is so piqued. I love artists like this where there's like nothing to know, but it makes you want to know everything. So at this point, I mean, these girls, this came out in 1963, I believe. So they were probably born, during the war. So they're in their 70s now. maybe even 80 at this point. So I hope they're still around, and I hope they continued making music. They seem to have kind of faded out into obscurity after that. I don't know what happened to them. So Little Sisters, or anybody associated, if you're watching this video, feel free to leave a comment or email me and tell me what's going on, because this album is incredible. It's bluegrass, it's Americana, it's folk, it's pop, it's Baroque. It's their own unique bend on adding Everly Brothers-esque vocals, but their harmonies are seriously tight and they sound so good. They're just making music their own way, wearing their influences on their sleeves, but also just being fun at the same time. And I love the liner notes, because in the article it says, on the back of this, it says that they were married, and that one of them, was it Mary? It says Mary was married to a Spanish-speaking poet and Patty to an artist. So it's saying that the guy only spoke Spanish and she only spoke English. But in the interview, it sounds like they were both infatuated with these two Spanish guys. So who knows if they were actually married. It just sounds like they were out for a wild rock and roll time, being young. Just you're out playing shows, you're meeting people, you're touring, you're learning songs, you're just experiencing growing up together. And it sounds like the excitement of that is kind of captured in their live shows. And that was that. They got this deal with MGM. They laid the album down probably pretty quickly and went from there. Anyways, a lot of these songs date back to ancient times or, modern folk songs. The title track, The Joys of Love, I'm going to butcher how to say this in French, Plaisir d'amour, which basically means the pleasures of love, dates back musically to 1784 by a guy named Jean-Paul Egide Martini. Sorry, dude. Who took the text and put the music, he took the text from a poem by Jean-Pierre Clarice de Florin. Again, if you're watching, man, from above, I'm sorry. I butchered your name. Excellent gentle guitar picking on this one. Again, Everly Brothers style harmonies. And I'm not going to use that comparison too often, but this one has that kind of feel. An excellent song about love and its strengths. An excellent vocal. It's a great introduction to the song, or to the album, and a worthy title track. Up next is Cuckoo, and this is a fascinating song. It's a traditional track that has varying lyrics, as most folk songs do. They get passed down from different generations and different regions, and the lyrics can change. It could be the same title and have the same refrain, or maybe some ideas that are similar, but sometimes they are completely different songs. This is one of them. I love the vocal ad-libs, and the way they do that vocal throughout this thing is just so unique and not of its time. It's a very unusual vocal tick. But such a unique delivery, interesting song, kind of a song about following your own path. In this version in particular, some of them are about relationships or even about actual birds. But yeah, excellent banjo in this one, peppy snare, dig it. Where Does It Lead comes next. And this is, they play really well with minor and majors on this one. Almost a Baroque pop feel with this track. The guitar kind of creeps along underneath it all, has a little solo here and there, but I dig that one. Shady Grove is definitely hootenanny style, bluegrass, banjo, excellent vocals, kind of sung in unison, not necessarily in harmony. Bops along well. I love the words about how the coffee tastes bad, but it's also useful for certain ailments. It's kind of cool. Hobo's Lullaby is a song that dates back in the day. Woody Guthrie did a cover of it at one point. Interesting song about just a homeless guy and the life that he leads and trying to avoid the police and just looking for a place to sleep. And they sing it very well. It definitely has that 1900s, 1920s feel to it. They do a great job with it. And the ending has almost like a pop track ending, which is a little bit of a different take on the rest of the song, but it's cool. The last song on side one, Bile Them Cabbage Down, or Boil Them Cabbage Down, it's literally a song about making hoe cakes and cabbage soup, which I had to look up what hoe cakes were. Apparently, if you had a hoe for excavating the soil, you can literally just put your baking ingredients on it and put it over a fire and make cakes, kind of like a pan. Never heard of it before. And cabbage soup, but apparently this song was very popular amongst folkies at that time. So that's kind of cool. Side two starts off with a song that has many, many names over the years. Where Did You Sleep Last Night, or In the Pines. Nirvana did a cover of Where Did You Sleep Last Night on their acoustic Unplugged album back in the day, but very grim song. It's a very grim song about finding a woman's husband decapitated by a train. They found the head, but they can't find the body. It's also a little accusatory, but it's like asking, the person they're interviewing if they do anything about it or if they did it, or it's got kind of a sinister feel to it, but older track, that one. Red Apple Juice. This sounds like a song the B-52s could have really covered well. It's looking for the better things in life, upbeat, fast, just a good folk song. When I Was a Young Girl, kind of a somber acoustic guitar on this one, meditative, kind of moody. Never Will I Marry follows that one, which is very upbeat, very happy, very pop-like. It's all about staying single, just doing your thing, living your life. No need to get married for these girls for this one. Going to Boston is exactly about that, just going to Boston. Bouncy little song. And the last track has had a lot of different names, most notably Skin and Bones. On here it's called Old Woman. And it's basically a Halloween song. It's about a girl, old woman, who's very old, skin and bones, going out to, broom off certain areas, and then she goes to open a door, and on other versions you hear a boo or a scary voice or something. This one just cuts. It just drops out, which I think is fascinating and such a clever, very Sopranos-esque move, if you will. But here's the back cover. Not much to know besides what Johnny Carson wrote here. I'll show you the inside sleeve. Obviously, I put it into a MoFi sleeve. I'm not sure if I had an original one. I'm assuming it did. The record is in stunning shape. It really wasn't played that much, but it really looks incredible. I love that MGM label. Man, that's so cool. Whoop. There we go. So there you go. Definitely more of an obscure album for sure, only because there's just nothing to know about this group. So if anybody watching this has heard this album, knows anything, or is associated with them, let me know. I would love to learn more about the making of this album, what it was like to have these girls in the studio, more about their live shows, more about their repertoire of other songs that they had at their live set that weren't on this album. What made them choose these particular songs? Was it the record company? Did they want to do these songs? What was it all about? And where did they go? What happened? I'm fascinated by this story, and I just want to know more. So if anybody knows anything, please leave me a comment, message me on Instagram, send me an email, let me know. But this album, for the curio that it is, the mystery behind it, and the song choices, and just the energy and enthusiasm, this young, youthful, expressive, motivated by the folk scene idealism, it works so well. They connect with the songs, they're believable performances, you feel like they wrote them. You just get lost in the music and their storytelling. They were an excellent duo, and it's a shame that they didn't make more music because this really is a fantastic album. So 8 out of 10 for me, hands down. So much fun to listen to, so much fun to get involved with. And all the songs are really short. I think the album's like 25 minutes tops at the most. So they really pack a lot into a small package. So there you go. The Little Sisters, The Joys of Love. Kind of a peculiar name for the album because it's a lot of songs that aren't really about love. Just that one track. Anyways, my name is Giggens. This has been The Little Sisters, The Joys of Love. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.